And now it's time for a segment we like to call Off-Screen Pays the Bills. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Van, what's going on?
Ain't nothing going on but the rent, you know how it is. And so a big thanks to our generous sponsors for this episode over at Thematic, who are here to help you take your videos and your podcast to the next level, using real music from real artists for your content. Copyright claims, particularly on YouTube, are the absolute bane of my existence, but you can avoid those entirely thanks to Thematic and keep 100% of your ad revenue with their Trackmatic AI experience, in which songs are instantly matched to your content's themes and save you fellow creatory types some also valuable time that you'd otherwise spend searching for the right music. Wave goodbye to copyright claims. Bye, copyright claims. Ye shall not be missed. So, head on over to hellothematic.com today and sign up for free so you can enjoy their creator toolkit, Trackmatic AI, and so much more. And so, our thanks again to the gang at Thematic. Now, back to the show. It's the Night of the Hunted, and it's just as well, because it lives inside the Pigeon Tunnel. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Adam Ball, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Hello and welcome back to the show then. Okay, we have got 3 brand new movies to delve deep into with Van. He's seen them all. I haven't. So let's first of all start with the documentary then, Van. The Pigeon Tunnel. Talk to me about this.
The Pigeon Tunnel, which does not involve either pigeons or tunnels, would you believe, Mr. Ball? Hello, by the way. I missed you last week. So obviously we were off last week, so I feel like I've had like a breather from you. It's nice to see you again. Your face is. It's nice to see your face once more. Yeah, Pigeon Tunnel.
Likewise.
New documentary about John le Carré. You know, the novelist, the author, John le Carré, who famously, gave us Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, the godfather of the, literary spy genre today. And this is a documentary of, a retrospective documentary of his career to date. So the actual term, the Pigeon Tunnel, and this is what I say, there's no pigeons or tunnels in this. As he himself tells us very early on, at some point, everything he's ever written has been titled The Pigeon Tunnel. He just loves that title, and it refers to a shooting place that his father would take him to, where they would go and they would just have tunnels that pigeons came out of, and his father would shoot the pigeons down. Yeah, and so that's where it comes from. And what you get here is a full-blown, warts and all, 90+ minute retrospective. It's been put out. It's out today, limited theatrical, and I think via Apple TV Plus as well, so you can stream this one at home for an Apple TV Plus subscriber. And say this will take you through the life and times, the inspirations behind, and where all the ideas came from for the entire pantheon of John le Carré fiction. Have a listen.
In your memoir, you say none of it's true. It's as I imagined it.
When I was in MI6, it wasn't enough for me. So what I did was reinvent the secret world and fill my own people with it.
Why is betrayal an important concept to you?
It has a long family background. Writing is a journey of self-discovery. I see my own life as a succession of embraces and escapes.
Maybe this is an interrogation. Maybe I am self-deceived.
I don't know, but I'll answer any question you wish me to answer as truthfully as I can.
So I'm assuming we get some real life footage in here. What's that? Talk to me about that. What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Errol Morris, who directed. I looked this up just before the show because I couldn't remember what Errol Morris had done recently. It turns out not that much recently, but I know him for having directed The Fog of War in the early 2000s. I think wealth of really intriguing archival footage being used here, and I will be honest, fascinating stuff. Really fascinating stuff. I didn't know an awful lot about John le Carré. Do you know an awful lot about John le Carré outside of just the novels?
I'm the same. I know nothing.
I didn't even know, for instance, that John le Carré isn't actually his name. I never even knew that. But yeah,
what?
So I think is he David?
I think he's David Cornwell, I think his name was originally, and John le Carre is the pseudonym that he put on. Obviously, went into the service, served his country, came out afterwards, and then created, you know, the iconic works like Spy Who Came In From the Cold, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, etc. All of that stuff is created based on his experiences, you know, serving in wartime. I just want to apologise, by the way, if you hear dogs yapping in the background. If anyone can't see the video, if anyone's like just listening can't see the video, I am not at home. I'm not at my home studio this week. I'm all the way in Cambridge at my mum's, and we have 7 yappy dogs running about the place. So I've tried to curtail as much as possible, but you can occasionally hear a bit of yapping. So apologies for that. But yes, you get recreations of the certain like recreations of you know episodes as we're being told the stories, things like that, played by, you know, recreations starring actors and things like that. It's not really a big name cast. I thought it's not like a name cast. It's all, you know, like bit player kind of performances, but it is, say, just a really compelling look at the story of le Carre. No, I didn't know. I didn't know anything really beyond. Obviously, I've read Tinker Tailor. I've you know, reviewed every version, I think, of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. But yeah, actually seeing this, it was a lot like, about as fascinating as when you get those documentaries about Ian Fleming or Roald Dahl, and how their service in war led directly to, you know, their work in the literary field down the line. And yeah, fascinating stuff. A lot of black and white in there, obviously. Out today, say, The Pigeon Tunnel, on Apple TV+. I would recommend this one. I think you'd be intrigued by this.
Yeah, I've seen some of the recreated parts on one of the trailers, and actually the cinematography looks quite impressive from what I've seen. I only saw a little bit. But yeah, I love it. And you know me, a documentary, I'm in. No matter, it could be a documentary about grass, and I would watch it because I always like to learn something new. So this is great. If you want to watch it, the Pigeon Tunnel on Apple TV from today. We are back in a moment. We're going to talk about It Lives Inside, and we've got Night of the Haunted to talk about as well before the end of the show. So stay right where you are. Hello and welcome back to the show then. Let's crack on. We've got 2 movies left to talk about. Van's seen them both. Night of the Haunted in a moment. But right now, It Lives Inside. Now, I know nothing about this. It's got to be a horror from that title.
I mean, it's almost like it's that time of the year, Adam. Can
I
you
know,
imagine
right?
such a thing? Incidentally, by the way, it's Night of the Haunted. I know why you would say haunted, but it's haunted.
Oh, did I say
another
haunted?
film with the same name. You
I
said
did.
haunted, and to be fair, there is another film in existence called Night of the Hunted, and I keep getting the two, whenever I'm like researching and things like that, I keep getting the two mixed up.
So do I, apparently.
So do you, but we're not talking about Night of the Hunted yet, although I can't wait to discuss that with you, because I think you're really going to enjoy that one.
Same.
It Lives Inside, which, do you know, this turned up in my inbox months ago now, from the American side, because obviously still registered as a Chicago film critic. So I had the American side email me about this a while back. I was like, oh, that sounds really intriguing. Didn't have to wait long. It's here now. It's got its UK release. I think it's about 6 weeks ago, maybe, in the US. New movie which centers around an Indian American teenager. So you've got a teenage girl of Indian ancestry who's been raised in the US. Named, I think her name's Samira, but she goes by Sam. And all she wants really is to assimilate, basically to just be ignored for all cultural value. She just, as far as she's concerned, she doesn't want to be remarkable or special. She just wants to be same as all the white kids, basically. She has another Indian American friend she knows from school, who comes to her one day and says, I've got this demon in a jar. I've got this little evil spirit in a glass jar, and I feed it raw meat to keep it, like, at bay. It's like an ancient demon. I keep it at bay with raw meat, and I put it in the jar, and that's it. And of course, Sam thinks her mate's being nuts, and inadvertently lets the genie out of the bottle, so to speak. So literally, like, breaks the jar, and then, wouldn't you know it, almost as if someone had told her this would happen, bad things start to occur. Have a listen.
What's going on with you? There's a monster in here. it's all the stories, the ones we heard growing up. They're true. They're all true.
You're such a psycho.
No. Please, send me that. I can't do this alone. Please.
Well, I mean, the premise of this for a horror movie sounds absolutely brilliant. As far as the spirit or the evilness that comes from this jar, does it form anything tangible, or is it a mystery, kind of shadows and dark, funny, whispery black things flying around the air?
C, all of the above. This is really bloody good. It's a really, really good movie, this one. Creepy as hell. Really creepy. Gorgeous looking at the visuals on this, incredible. I think it's the first feature film from writer-director Bishal Dutta. And the performance you've got in the lead, who's a young actress, I'm trying to remember this name, Megan Surrey. Megan Surrey in the lead. Absolutely mesmerising. I mean, this teenage girl can just reduce you to rubble with just her eyes. Like, she's very much a facial actress. Like, very much, it's all in the eyes. And the intensity and the power that she brings to this role is really impressive. Like, really, really something. Well written. I edged my seat the whole way through. It's one of those really great horror movies that understands that that in some cases, you know, the scariest thing imaginable is it's in the old traditions. It's in the old cultural traditions, and it's in the ancient texts. And this is very much one of those. Performance as well in there that quite surprised me from, I want to say his name is it Vic Sahai? I want to say Vic Sahai, okay, who plays Megan Surrey's on-screen father. I think his name's Inesh, I think his name. Very good performance, well delivered, everything. But what really surprised me about it is I did not realise for the entirety of the movie that it was Vic Sahai. Because Vic Sahai is a goofball, dumbass comedian type who I know from things like Chuck. If you've ever seen the TV show Chuck with Zach Levi, have you ever seen that one where he's got the database in his head? He's got like the CIA database in his head, yeah. Vic Sahai is one of the guys who works at the Geek Squad place in that series, and gets a lot to do. He's a really entertaining performer. But seeing him go for serious drama here, because that's kind of the role he goes for, is an emotional linchpin part. And the scenes he shares with Megan Surrey are really well done. I really loved this end to end. Performances all the way across the board, great. Visually, very good. In terms of the I don't want to spoil too much for you with this one, but in terms of its additions, its new additions to the horror pantheon, the things that you're going to remember the movie for down the line, yes, very much so. This is a movie perfect, release window, obviously, because it's a week before Halloween. If you're looking for something to go to the multiplex this Halloween and enjoy, and you've already seen, presumably, Saw X, for instance, check this one out. This is really, really good, powerful, pulse-pounding stuff. But again, what I found most impressive, I think, was the care and sensitivity in which it delved into its cultural traditions. It delved into this entire area that, again, not really something I would have an awful lot of first-hand knowledge with, but made for a damn good horror movie. So that's called It Lives Inside. And you can see that in cinemas from today.
I've seen the trailer to it. I've got to say, it's certainly got some thriller, jumpy bits, especially the. I won't be spoiling anything because it's in the trailer, but the bit on the swing is the bit that made me kind of go,
yes.
"Whoa, this looks good."
You see it happening like that. Is what a physical performance as well. Cause it's really This sticks with you as well. This will stick with you. This film. It Lives Inside. Definitely worth checking out.
Cinemas from today. All right, we are going to be back in just a second. Night of the Hunted. We'll find out what that's all about in a second. Stay there. Hello and welcome back to the show for one last ride. All right, let's talk about Night of the Hunted. We aren't far away from Halloween, and this sounds like the perfect kind of movie you want to be going to see, right, Van?
Yes, you are gonna love this one, Mr. Ball. So, Night of the Hunted. Night of the Hunted. New movie. It's been released in cinemas today by Vertigo, but I believe it's been co-produced with Shudder. You know, the horror streaming platform Shudder?
Yes.
They've actually got a stake in this, and it stars Camille Rowe. It's written and directed. Well, it's directed and co-written. Sorry, by Frank Calhoun. Now, Frank Calhoun, name I knew, could not for the life of me remember why. So, went and looked up, and it turns out Frank Calhoun directed one of my very favourite movies of 2012, the Elijah Wood remake of Maniac. He directed that. Also directed one of those just trashy little gems that I adore. A 2007 slasher starring Rachel Nichols called P2, in which a woman is stalked through a car park and just on the level P2.
Oh, that would freak me out.
Check that one out, P2. It's like a forgotten gem. There's loads of really great, trashy little 90-minute horror movies from the late 2000s, the late noughts, like Vacancy with Luke Wilson and P2 and things like that. They're always worth checking out. And say, this very much fits into that mold. So, what you've got here is a 95-minute nuts and bolts survival horror thriller. So, stars Camille Rowe. She is a young woman who pulls into a petrol station one night, leaves the boyfriend out of the car, filling the petrol. She goes in to, get a drink and pay up, etc. Walks in, and there's bullet holes everywhere. And the lady behind the counter is dead. And then, wouldn't you know it, she gets a bullet through her as well. And there's a bullet through the boyfriend. And the entire place is basically laid waste to at the behest of a maniac sniper who has set up encampment across the road on a big billboard that I think says #GodIsNowhere on it. And basically gets onto her through a radio, what do you call it, a two-way radio that happens to be in the store, and taunts her for this night. It's not much of there's no hunting going on. I don't know where the hunted comes into the title, because she's not really hunted. She's in one place.
She's captured.
She's captured. She's basically, she's detained. It's Night of the Detained, I think, more than anything else. But basically, before you can say sniper fire, she's ducking behind the end caps in this petrol station, popping up umbrellas to try and give herself any kind of shelter, and it's her versus the maniac. Have a listen.
Amelia, you read me?
Hey, Alice.
What's going on?
John?
Hello?
You have to call the police, please. My friend just got shot.
I'm sorry. Because I blew his head off.
Who are you?
More importantly, who do you think you are? The way we've lived. The repercussions of our actions.
There's someone shooting at the store!
This reminds me of Phone Box, but a gas station instead of a phone box.
Phone booth.
That's the one, phone booth.
Well, there's the phone booth where he's actually in the phone booth, and then the cellular from about a year after that, which is the same damn thing, but it's with a mobile phone and it's Chris Evans. And has Statham as the villain. We all forget that
That's
about
right.
Cellular. It had bloody Statham as the villain doing a really awful accent in that one. I don't know what he was thinking, but beside the point. Oh, also it had Jessica Biel. Let's not bury the lead on that one. Cellular had Jessica Biel. So this has Camille Rowe. Not a huge cast in this one. I think there's maybe 4 people here on screen throughout this 95-minute thing. But Frank Calhoun is your MVP here. And, when you've got a concept as good as this, that's from the clip, it sounds pretty good, doesn't it? You're intrigued. From the setup I've given you and that clip, you're intrigued already. But having, the director of the Maniac remake and P2 be the guy behind this as well, yes. Oh, yes, that goes down gangbusters in my book. This really works. As far as its sense of location, its sense of environment, using those surroundings, does a very, very good job. It is one of those movies that you do in the best possible way. I tend to find that with survival horror, what really makes or breaks them, for me, usually tends to be does it pass the yes, but what if I test? When you're watching it, but why don't you just... And then they think of that. every avenue is covered in this, which I have to tip my hat to them for. They have thought this, and you say that makes or breaks any survival horror thriller for me. This does fall a little bit more on the side of the thriller than the horror, it has to be said. There's a little bit of gore, obviously there kind of has to be in the nature of it, but it's very much more of a thriller. And when you compare it to something like Phone Booth, yes, you've hit the nail right on the head. And if you are a fan of Phone Booth, you've got to see it. You've got to see this. It's really, really good. But what's actually quite clever about it as well is, as you can hear from the taunting killer motif in the clip, there's quite a sharp level of writing applied to said maniac, in how he goes about, how he brings in elements like the alt-right, how he brings in things like anti-vaxxers and things like that. This very clearly, this was not a movie that's been sat on the shelf since COVID, like very recently made film, because it's got quite contemporary sensibilities at times when it talks about our attitude to conspiracy theorists, for instance. Put it this way, it's a movie that you wouldn't have made the same way before the January 6th insurrection. And that does come up. I think it's very, very good. I think the performance by Camille Rowe is great. I think, all right, your villain is no Kiefer Sutherland in Phone Booth, granted, but a pretty good villain. It works for me. I really like the movie. Didn't end the way I thought it would. Becomes a bit more of a straight standard horror movie kind of towards the end, kind of gives up the thriller ghost a little, but I wasn't dissatisfied. It ticked every box. I came away 2 thumbs up, very happy, job done, 95 minutes, no complaints. Bash, done.
I'm pleased to hear that, actually, because you saying about you think there's only like 3 or 4 people in it. I always find it's quite hard to make a that has a really small cast that can really keep you into it and attentive. There are
Ryan Reynolds would like to chat with you about the movie Buried now.
But I liked that movie. I thought that was great.
Actually, not just Ryan Reynolds, his bloody wife. His wife did one. She did The Shallows, where she's on where the shark's going around and she's on the buoy in the middle of the like both husband. That's so weird that both husband and wife did like solitary, solo show survival horror things. I thought about it. But
I loved them both. I think it's hard to do that.
Yeah, but only one of those movies had a character named Steven Seagal, and
Well, I love the sound of this. It's definitely the sort of movie that I would want to watch. So that's 2 from this week. I've got to dive into at some point in the next week or 2. Then.
You absolutely should. And you know what? Next week's shaping up to be pretty good as well. I've seen one of the movies that's out next week, and I went to the premiere of it, and I'm sorry to say it's not very good. So next week we are going to talk about the new Hammer movie, the latest attempt to revive Hammer horror, and it's the Eddie Izzard starring Dr. Jekyll, which I went to the premiere for quite recently, and I don't think there's going to be a worse movie than that out next week. I can say that.
Is it that bad? No!
It's pretty bloody awful. Yeah. Right, other movies that are out next week, though, include... Brace yourself for this list. Okay, so Cat Person, yeah, cool. Typist, Artist, Pirate, King, which I don't know an awful lot about, but I mean on that title. We've got a new Liam Neeson movie in which a psycho takes control of his electric car.
What, drives him around to the shops?
I think a psycho takes command of his car, and the movie is called Retribution. If anyone's going to do that, I'm glad it's Liam Neeson. We've also got a new horror movie that I was hoping to see at Celluloid Screams. What do you call it? Fright Fest. Fright Fest last month. Suitable Flesh, which I've got a link for. I've got that to watch. I'm really looking forward to watching Suitable Flesh. But the biggie next week comes courtesy of Netflix and David Fincher, and it stars Michael Fassbender. It's the new movie The Killer, which is out next week. So looking forward to that one. But yeah,
I get excited when Netflix release new stuff because generally, there's been a lot of money pumped into it, and it's generally always pretty good.
Well, I mean that's kind of the Netflix hallmark. isn't it?
Yeah.
Netflix have more money than God. You know, they'll just
You're right.
sink it into it. But I'm glad that they're giving that money to Fincher, because my favourite director. I wear David Fincher's name around my neck most days, but he's one of the names on the filmmaker necklace that I had made. But yeah, give me a new Fincher movie, and you've got my money, sir. Or in this case, you've got my subscription Netflix. But we've got that. We've got that to look forward to next week, anyway.
Brilliant. Loads and loads to look forward to. So we will return next week. Until then, I've been Adam Ball.
I've been Ben Connor, and as you say, we shall return.